everybody. Welcome to the Food Explorer podcast. I am Colleen. I am your host. I am here today with radishes. Okay, let's do a quick update. I did not do an episode last week. I am so sorry. I'm in that January blues kind of funk. I don't know what's going on. And I was not motivated to do anything last week. Also, it was minus 50 in Alberta. So you're like, well, you're inside. You could have recorded a podcast. I could have, but I didn't have the energy. I was completely sapped of all energy and my life force was gone. But this week, we're going to talk about our first book in the book seasonal challenge that we're doing. And so we're going to talk about that book. And we're going to do a quick little bit of ferment with some amazing radishes that I got. So we're going to talk about the radishes, talk about the farm that I got them from. And what else have I got in front of me here? And I'm going to show you a couple other things that I have purchased that are also done in sort of that pickling kind of vibe. So I mentioned to you in the last podcast that I don't know, at this time of year, I want to have fermented stuff and pickled stuff and all of these great things. And so, as many of you know, we eat at Kalina to go every week. It was closed the one week, and honest to goodness, I thought I'll starve to death. Yes, I can make all my own food, but do I want to all the time? 100%, I do not. So I was at Kalina last week, and I picked up a couple of pickled items. So they had spicy pickles. They are so thin. So if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to just describe them to you. These are like wafer thin cucumbers sliced up. And they did a vinegar pickling, and a little bit of salt and a little bit of spice. And so I just asked them, I was like, oh, what spice did you use? And they're like, pretty sure we used cayenne. See, these are my people because I do the same things. I'll make a chocolate and people will be like, oh, what's all the things in it? I'm like, pretty sure hazelnuts because I don't write anything down. But I got these gorgeous spicy pickles. And I yesterday went to Earth General Store, which is an organic grocery store really close to where I'm house cat sitting. And I got these incredible organic ciabatta buns. They're, oh my gosh, mouth-watering. I then went to the Italian Center and got the meat ends, and I scored big time on my package of meat ends. So meat ends are basically when they are slicing all of the vegetables or slicing all of the meat up, slicing the vegetables up, they're slicing all the meat up, and then there's sort of that end where, you know what, you're going to slice off a digit if you put it through the meat slicer. So they save all those ends and then they sell them as a package of mix and match ends. And the one that I got yesterday was, there was sopressata salami in there. There was brescola. There was a Black Forest ham, a Mediterranean sun-dried tomato turkey. There was, I think, what was the other one? There was another salami in there as well. So it's just like this mix of just meat ends. So I took the ciabatta bun that I got. I took the meat ends, put them into the oven, warmed them up. And then I took the spicy pickles that I got, put those on. Arugula. We talked about bitter foods. You know I love a good bitter food. Put some arugula on top of there. And the other item that I got was these amazing pickled onions. And so these are also from Kalina. We buy them in the little containers, and they do just these beautiful pickled red onions. And I absolutely love them. Anything that Kalina makes with the pickled onions on it is going to be a number one pick for me. They're so good. So I put all that on the sandwich, and then because I'm cat sitting, I'm not at home, so I just took a picture, I think, and sent it to Jason, and I was like, haha, look what I'm eating. So mean. I know, it's mean. But those are two pickled items that I actually really, really like and are kind of a staple for me. One thing I hate, bread and butter pickles. So Jason decided to tell me all about these amazing pickles that he was eating when we were at his mom's house. And he's like, here, have one. They're so good. And I put it in my mouth, and it was a bread and butter pickle. So I was very angry then because I dislike them a lot. So I told him that anything he offers me ever again to eat, I'm never eating it because he's lost all my trust. He's not trustworthy. So, and his mom then fed me these horrible almonds. She's like, try this and tell me what you think it tastes like. I'm like, it tastes like sadness. Why did you feed this to me? Anyways, so I love pickled stuff, but I don't like bread and butter pickles. I also found my parents, where I am house sitting, they had a whole jar of sauerkraut. If you have not made sauerkraut before, honest to goodness, of all of the things that you could ferment, it's the easiest thing to do. So you take your cabbage, slice it up however you want it. I kind of like to slice it so it's almost like ribbons, not too thick, because you want everything to ferment at the same rate. So you don't want to have some like really thin pieces and some really thick pieces, because then the consistency is weird. And then you just put the best salt that you can get on it and massage it in. Let it sit for, well, it depends on how sort of sauerkrauty you want it. But what will happen is the salt will actually draw the liquids out, and it will create like this vegetable, brothy, juicy brine mixture. It's the easiest thing to do because it's literally salt and cabbage. You don't add vinegar. You don't add any of those things. It's just those two ingredients. And then you can, fancy it up if you want. So I love adding in seaweed when I make kraut. I love a seaweed sauerkraut. It's fantastic. So just grabbing those seaweed strips or seaweed, you get them and they're like little crunchy, almost like chips. Throw those in. I also love doing the sauerkraut and adding in a bit of like fresh dill. If you don't have fresh dill, because in North America right now, it's not really the time for fresh dill, unless you can get it from a greenhouse. Adding in garlic. What else do I like to add in? Peppercorns, any of those things. So you can really take that base recipe and then just up from there. But the book that we're doing this month, before I get too far ahead, is the Wild Fermentation book. And this one is by Sandor Katz. So this book has recipes that are very simple to follow. This guy is a let's just do it kind of a guy. So instead of some cookbooks or recipe books where they're like, okay, so to make this recipe, you need to go and buy 25 completely random ingredients that you're never going to find at your grocery store, and all this equipment that's going to cost you a fortune. This guy doesn't do that. It's like, get yourself a jar, have a lid, get your salt, get your spices, your herbs, whatever you want to ferment, and just do it. So very, very different than some books. For this recipe that we're going to do today, I actually have these incredible radishes. So I have actually 4 species of radish. And this is from Thistle Hill Farm. So they are a local farmer. They're just outside of Edmonton, and they're doing incredible, amazing growing season items, vegetables, all sorts of stuff. So I got 4 species from them, and I'll have on the video a nice up close of each of the species. But we have the first one. It's a green, and it's basically like a daikon. And it is called green luobo. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at pronouncing things. This poor little radish is feeling offended right now. Can't you say my name right? Green luobo. So that's the first one that we've got there. Beautiful, nice hue, kind of like an ombre on the radish. So going from light green to a little bit more of a dark green. The inside is a nice sort of a ombre pattern as well, with sort of green to white. This is going to be beautiful. All of these are that nice peppery flavor to them. And I think I might have mentioned this, but I never ate radishes until like a couple years ago. Let's just be honest. It was a couple years ago. The next one that I have is called Bravo Daikon, and it is absolutely stunning. So again, if you are listening, that's okay. If you go to the YouTube, you'll see this beautiful radish. It is purple, beautiful purple on the outside, and then it has sort of this interesting design on the inside where it's kind of inward pull of that purple into the white fleshy part of this radish. All of these radishes that I'm eating today, I'm not eating them today, I'm going to put them into brine to pickle them, are brand new to me. I've never had these radishes before. So most of the times you go to the grocery store and you'll see the red radish. So it's got the red outside and that beautiful white inside. That's a different type of radish than what we're doing here today. Then I have ones, they're called Nero Tondo. They have a black outside and a white inside. Again, absolutely gorgeous. And the final one is called Alpine. And this one looks more like your classic daikon, long, white, sort of that daikon root. Smells amazing. I also love the smell of radishes. It's one of those things. I think as you get older, if you don't eat them when you're younger, as you get older, you appreciate them a bit more. And then I've got some fresh ginger that I'm going to be putting in there as well. And I'm going to make just a quick pickle. So for this, I'm going to do just the simplest brine. So I have 1 liter of filtered water and I have 3 tablespoons of salt, and you just mix them together till your salt is dissolved. Pack down your sliced radishes into your jar, and I'm eating these right away. Like, I'm sorry. The people that are canning stuff, I love you. Thank you. I love buying your canned stuff. But these radishes are going to be going in my belly really fast. So I have nice little glass mason jars. I have sort of these low profile glass mason jars. They have the wide mouth lids on them, which I really like, the wide mouth lids. But I'm literally going to do 2 of these jars. I'm not going to can and seal them just because I'm going to be eating these right away. So if you're saving them though, you do have to do proper canning and sealing so that they last and you don't end up with weird rotting type creations in your jars. You know, if you want them to last for a bit longer, you're going to have to do that process, but these are going to be eaten up right away. The other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to do some of the radishes where I'm actually just going to use a vegetable peeler and put them into nice long strips. And my parents finally, thank you, Mom and Dad, got proper knives in their house. Okay, so I'm cat sitting for my parents while they're living their best life in Palm Springs. And they always had the worst knives in the house. Like, you know, you weren't stabbing anybody with them because you'd be like, hold still while I try and get this knife in. They have the dullest knives ever. But now they have these fancy shop knives. I don't even know where they got these from, but there's like these little fancy Japanese knives. So I am going to do some where I'm going to slice them like a cross section because I think they'll look just absolutely gorgeous. So I will do some thin slices that way as well. So I'm going to test out this knife, see if this nice knife works. If not, hack that you can use, get your cheese grater. So if you don't have a mandolin, get your cheese grater. And so I'm going to see how thick the cheese grater will actually do a slice of this vegetable. If you're using a mandolin, please, for the love of everything that is holy, do not use your mandolin without that protective guard on there. Honest to goodness, people, it's not worth it. You'll slice your hands off. And I have had a mandolin cut, and my mom has had one, and they are unpleasant because they just, you know, they're on your hand and they just keep opening up over and over again. So I do not appreciate the cut from the mandolin. So I'm going to I'm going to film some stuff really quick. So it's kind of like the B-roll. And then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about a couple more of the recipes in this book that I think might be interesting for you. and we'll wrap up our Wednesday podcast. Okay, so as I started getting everything ready to just do a quick brine for my radishes, they smell so delicious. So I decided I am actually going to do some quick pickle as well. So this is a premium white balsamic vinegar from Evolution. You know we love them. So I'm actually going to do it with this balsamic vinegar. So here's the thing. With this one here, so you can see it's really nice and liquidy. So it's not like the traditional 18-year, which would be very thick. This is a white balsamic vinegar and a premium. So a little bit different than the other balsamic vinegars that you might be thinking about, which are very thick, dark purple color. So because this is already got a bit of sweetness in it, I'm not going to have to add any sugar to it. So I'm just going to do the vinegar and the salt, and we're just going to let this warm up. And once the salt has dissolved, I'll show you how I'm actually going to put it in with the radishes. So I'm going to do a pickling, like a brine, and then I'm going to do this quick pickle technique as well. So I think that this is kind of like one of those activities that, you know, on a rainy day or a cold day is just so much fun. So if you're watching the YouTube video, you'll have seen just me doing some of the prep. But if you're listening, what I ended up doing was I actually, my parents have 3 different vegetable peelers. And peeler number 1 was garbage, so it needs to be thrown out. Peeler number 2 was okay. But peeler number 3 was the winner chicken dinner. And it was just one of those wide type of peelers that you can use, which is way better. Let's see if I can actually grab it. Oh, there we go. So a much better wide mouth, really good peeler. So I was able to get beautiful strips of all of the different radishes, and they look absolutely gorgeous. So the purple Bravo daikon has this beautiful purple streak along the side of it. Our green Luobo is also very pretty. And then our black Nero, I couldn't use the peeler with it, so I actually did use the fancy chef knife and cut it into super thin pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to throw everything into different jars. I'm going to do a mix and match of each thing. And some of it's going to be brine and some of it is going to be pickled. And then the pickled one, I just have to wait for it to cool down, and then I'll just put everything in the fridge and just let it sit for a little bit, and it'll be good to go. So these curls look amazing. So I'm really excited about this. Again, this is something really simple you can do. You know, if you've got carrots, beans, peppers, cucumbers, any of these vegetables, you can do with this technique. And then the other thing was for stuff that was just a little bit too hard to peel, so I was kind of getting to the end of the piece of daikon or the other types of radishes, I just left it in chunks, and then I will just cut that up and use that in salads. And for just doing the pickle with the radishes, I'm actually going to have these jars here. So these are the ones that I washed out with hot water. They're now dry. And like I said earlier, for that one, all I'm doing is the salt and water. So 3 tablespoons of salt with your filtered water, and that's all you need to do that recipe, which is pretty sweet. Like, most people have water and salt in their house, so they can do this. Okay, I have now got everything done. I wish everyone could be here in the kitchen with me to smell how amazing things smell. So all of these radishes that are now sliced up, I have just little bits and bobs that are left that I'm going to use in my salad later. But I don't know. I love the smell of radish now. I love the taste of radish. I love the smell of radish. And then of course, using the Evolution A Premium balsamic vinegar to do the quick pickle, everything you could possibly want. Again, they're not sponsoring this, but they should. They should. I'm gonna tell them to sponsor me. But they do really nice things for me. I should. Beggars can't be choosers, but also they do really nice things for me. But doing the pickle this way, then I don't have to add any sugar because the balsamic vinegar already, it's made from the grapes. So it's already just got the natural sugar in there, no added sugar. But if you wanted to do something like that. So the mixture that I have that's going to go into the jar is simply the vinegar with the salt. And I just heated it up to dissolve it. And then in it goes. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It doesn't take very much. We're going to pour that in there. And we're done. And it's a good thing that I have a little paper towel below me to catch, because I did a little bit of spillage, but that's okay. So to wrap up, a couple of things that I want to tell you. Doing the brine pickling, so easy. Salt, water. And when you actually add the salt into your mixture, so I have my brine mixture, you want it to be quite salty, right? Because this is going to be doing this sort of fermenting and pickling. I put a mixture of radishes in the jar. Now, the radishes need to stay below the water level. So when you add in your salty, delicious mixture, radishes are going to say, I want to float at the top. Easy fix. Again, that's not going to cost you a lot of money, because that's the thing. I don't want people to be, well, I got to go buy all this equipment. You don't. So when you have those wide mouth mason jars, all you do is you take a smaller mason jar, put some water in it, and then put it on top. And you play with the amount of water. So I have a mason jar that's full of water. It's a little too much because it's going to create a weight that's actually going to push the radishes and liquid out of my little wide mouth mason jar. So I'm actually going to dump out some of the water. I'm going to put it on top, still a little bit heavy. So I can actually just do just the jar on top. There we go. So you put the jar on top, you're good to go. That will hold all your radishes below the water line. When they're below, then they're in that salty mixture, and they're going to create an amazing pickled radish. So 2 methods that I did today. So doing the quick pickle with the actual balsamic liquidy mixture, and then doing the one that's going to actually just sit on the countertop until it's at the, well, basically where I like it. So I'm going to let it sit for about a week. It's winter, but the house is nice and warm. So I'll let it sit for about a week, and then I will test it out and see what it's like. So with that, kind of a really quick little episode. So again, if you are listening to this episode and you want to get some of the visuals, we do have the Instagram account. I'll post a couple things there. And we also, of course, have the full thing on YouTube where you get to see everything happen. Let me know what you might try to do. So are you going to try some carrots? Are you going to try some cucumbers? Maybe you want to do some radishes like I am doing, or you want to try your hand at sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is so easy, my friends. It's so easy. So the book that we did for this first section was The Wild Fermentation, Sandor Katz. I will post a link in the show notes for the bookstore in town, local independent bookstore. If you're not in Edmonton and you need to order it from somewhere else, see if your local bookstore has it. And if not, well, I guess the Headless Monster that starts with an A will be your option. And I understand, for lots of people that live in different parts of the world, it's the easiest way to get stuff. I totally get it. And I am actually excited because now what I'm going to do, I'm going to edit this video really quick, but then I'm going to have one of those sandwiches that I talked about that I had yesterday, because I've got all this amazing stuff in the house. So I'm going to have one of those sandwiches, maybe a little afternoon coffee, and that will be my day. I hope wherever you're at, morning, afternoon, or evening, you're having the best day ever. We made it past Blue Monday. Thank goodness. Blue Monday was a terrible day for me. I was out of sorts. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. I'm Colleen. This is your Food Explorer podcast. Thank you so much.